at Cherry Spring. Oh,
Oh,
we
Careful what you say now.
recording.
Be careful what you
Yeah,
say.
right, right. I went up to Cherry Springs. What was it last July, end of July, and unfortunately, I came up just before the wood choppers ball or whatever that thing is, where they shut down the place for a week. So I could only be there one night before they kicked me out. So that was really stupid. I didn't know that. But I just went next door to a place called the Big Dipper Lodge, just a quarter mile from the field. And a nice lady there said they didn't have any reservations, so she let me just park my camper in the yard there for $15, and I had Wi-Fi and electricity, the whole thing. It was a great deal. So that's where I shot this, and so I've been shooting the Shark Nebula for a while now, and I've always noticed there was this sort of other dark nebula just on the edge of the frame that I was sort of cropping out the way I framed it. And so this time I decided I'd do a mosaic. So this is a 2-panel mosaic with the Red Cat 51. And so you can see, there's the shark, obviously. And I like to think this is a Portuguese man-o-war at the surface or close to the surface.
Yeah, it could be.
Up here. It kind of looks like it to me. So I was able to capture both of these objects comfortably with this 2-panel mosaic. It's, let's see, 300-second exposures. And I actually, I did the first panel was 43 300-second exposures. The second panel was only 5. That's all I had time for, I guess. So the top panel is actually a lot less data, but I don't think you can tell by looking at the image. It looks like it's kind of equivalent to me. I don't know how well you can see the detail on this. Should I zoom in?
Yeah, they're blended nicely. I mean, it's
Yeah.
I mean,
Where would be
maybe I
the,
see a little bit higher noise pattern in the top section. But hey, that's the beauty of Boreal 2 skies, right?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think you're right. I think there is a little bit more graininess.
Whoa, that looks really cool there.
Yeah, it's this turned out nice. I fortunately I banked more time on the shark than I did on the man-o-war, so which is, well, I think it was worth it. So, but it's worth coming back to this one and trying this again. And this was actually before the ASI Air came out with the automatic or the mosaic planner built in. So I kind of did this sort of back of the envelope mosaic. Now it's simple to do mosaics with the ASI Air. They have a whole sort of module for just doing that. So
That's awesome.
yeah. So
Great
I just
detail.
recently reprocessed this with the noise exterminator and the star exterminator and the blur exterminator. I'm using all 3 of those in my workflow now. So I just reprocessed this. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I processed this on January 2nd. So this is brand new. So
It's a cool shot.
It's
Those
much
dark
gas.
nebula are really interesting.
yeah, and it's like when I was first starting to shoot, I didn't even know about them. Like, you know, my at planetarium software on the computer didn't even show anything when you point at these, so I didn't think there was anything to shoot. And then I see people posting online images like this, as whoa, what's that? And that's how I found a lot of these images to shoot, was because somebody posted a really cool image and I said, I want to do that. So anyway, so that's my shark and Portuguese man-o-war nebulas.
They're awesome.
Thanks.
They almost look like plumes, like in the Pillars of Creation. You know what I mean? The image of the shark, it just kind of looks like a plume of gas or something like that. Is that a star forming area or just no? I mean,
I don't know if there is a one answer for dark nebulas. Do they have different mechanisms for forming?
I have no
I don't
idea.
know. I mean, I think they're mostly dust, right? The dark nebulas are basically dust clouds with some light shining on them, maybe. Not sure. That's your homework assignment for the next month, Harry, is to get the answer to that.
Yeah, okay.
I think you see that sort of triangular shaped kind of cloud in a lot of images that, you know, you see it on in the rosette, you see it in obviously the pillars of creation. I think that is generally, I think, a star formation sort of structure, but
Mhm.
I almost wonder if it's maybe something moving through the cloud, creating a wake. It kind of almost looks like the
yeah,
wake
it does
from a
look like
boat, some
that.
of those,
It does look like that.
like the Cone Nebula would be one of those, like you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. Anything else, Mark? Or
Well, that's good for now. I don't want to hog the limelight. And
okay.
I mean, honestly, since I got the Blur Exterminator, I've been going through all of last year's images and reprocessing them all. So I've just been, up to my ears and just processing for the past week.
You and probably a few hundred other astrophotographers across the world,
Yeah,
are
I
doing the
figured,
exact same thing.
It's worth the effort. The Blur Exterminator is
It
a game.
is. It is. And they say to use it on, a linear image, but I've been trying it on my, my final images, and it's without having to go back from scratch. It does a decent job on those as well. But yeah, I'm going to go back and redo it from the beginning.
I sat in on the Masters of Pixin site. They did just an impromptu quick evaluation of that for free. And I sat in on that. And so I had a chance to sort of see them using it. And I'm kind of following a little bit of their work process with what I'm doing. So
Yeah. Do you see, did you see people online were like arguing about whether you should use it? And I guess some people came up with some theory that it was downloading images from the Hubble and mixing them in with your data to make your data look better.
Hey, what the heck?
is there a problem with that?
This is good, Gary.
What's the problem? It's that machine learning. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger is in there somewhere. So
Yeah.
Could you imagine if there was, came out some one day that was the truth? One way we all be like, we'd feel really dumb, huh?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
And that's not freeware, right? You got to buy that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's under $100. It's not like outrageous.
Okay.
And you get a whopping $10 off that if you have the other product, one of the other products. So
Yeah.
okay, Jim, you got anything, or can you share from there or not?
I don't know. I might have showed. I mean, I could try. Let me see. Let me share my screen. Can you guys? Can you? Hold on. Let me see here. Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Yeah.
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 Okay. This is on an iPad. I've never done this before. So, how about now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, so this is one I may have shown this, but yeah, I kind of was just one of the. I guess you guys mentioned the Blur Exterminator. I reran this with through the Blur Exterminator. Actually, I ended up doing a full reprocess on it. It's not a great image. I mean, it was probably only about 8 hours of data. Probably this target probably needed more like 15. But what I found really interesting is the Blur Exterminator brought so many more details. Like these small star areas here, they were all clumped together. You really couldn't make any detail. And this nebulosity here, you could actually start to see it a little bit. It almost looks like the tarantula type nebula in the southern hemisphere. But all these types of data, I don't know how the details coming through, if it's coming through clear or not, but was really blew me away. I mean, like Bob was just saying, I mean, I'm going to go back and try to revisit a lot of any of the data that I liked, but always just felt was a little foggy. I ran it. I'm going to go through and run it through.
Especially on the higher focal length images that I have, it makes a bigger difference with my Schmidt-Cassegrain than it does with my refractor.
So yeah, so maybe if that's the case, maybe it's undersampled, right? Would that be it? It would be undersampled. So maybe it works better with that.
I think atmospheric distortion just has a bigger effect on a higher focal length image. I think it's just you're more susceptible to the atmosphere messing up your image than you are with a wide field shot.
Yeah. Huh. Maybe there's something with it, because I agree with you, because this was one of my more punched in shots. It's and definitely can see it. I mean, look down here. Like I never even know. It looks like there's a little reflection nebula down here.
Yeah.
I never even knew it was there.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a reflection from a street light on your optical.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think so. But maybe.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
So
What am I looking at?
don't mind the basketball. I think I showed this one last, maybe last month. I'm not sure, but it's the Flame and Tadpole Nebulas that I did.
Is this narrowband?
This is SHO, correct? Yep.
Huh.
Yeah. So I think I might have shown this to you guys before, but I'm actually want to get to this one here. So this image here,
cool.
again, this was a one that was a blur exterminator. Now, this image, I don't even think maybe I posted on Instagram but it just was very, very disappointing. It was just data that I got from Cherry Springs, but I only got about like maybe 2 hours, 3 hours max on it. And again, it was super, super blurry. It just was like, looked very low resolution to me. And sure enough, running through that blur exterminator, man, and it really woke the picture up. I mean, brought a lot of fine detail in.
Wow.
Looks like you're picking up a little galaxy back here. You're even getting I think, a little more detail on this galaxy over here in the corner.
Yeah.
So just a shot that again, was something like, whatever. It's cool. You know, it's always cool to see the Whirlpool Nebula, or the Whirlpool Galaxy. But, you know, when I was able to pull this type of data out of it and this level of detail, I was pretty impressed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
And then the same thing with this. So this was a crescent. I don't think I ever even posted this before. Again, I took the image, I processed it. For me personally, I liked it. I just, added to my collection, but I never really was like super wowed about it. Again, because I think I was lacking detail on the actual Crescent Nebula itself.
Yeah.
So now with this blur exterminator, I'm just really, really impressed. I mean,
Whoa.
again, I'm not getting as much as the oxygen that I would like, the crust that goes around it.
Yeah.
But man, like the sharpness and the detail that I was able to pull out of that, which is just incredible. It blew me away.
It looks very textured. It's
yeah, and
looks
that's
good.
that was how I felt like that's what it was missing before. It just felt real soft. And you see these guys who are out in the Colorado or in the deserts, and they're taking these images of the Crescent Nebula, and it looks almost like 3-dimensional. And then I had mine, and it looked just blurry, and so I was never really impressed.
I know how you feel.
Yeah, Hubble did a really good job on this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever Hubble did to add to this, I'm very impressed with. But this is an HOO image, just so you could probably tell, obviously, by the star colors are a little off. But yeah, this is an HOO, just 3-nanometer filter shot in my Bortle 7 backyard.
Wow.
All right, and yeah, it's more basketball pictures, but I think that's it. I did have one more down here. I just posted this the other day. I was gonna run something by you guys in a
There it is,
second.
Cujo.
Yeah, it's my Big Ben. All right.
So baby's nice.
So I did this again for my backyard. It's something I shoot it every year, and I swear I'm not going to shoot it, but it's one of my favorite targets. It's got a little bit of a personal background to it. So I kind of love it. It's a target I almost would just have a telescope shooting this all year round if I could. But this is shot with 1-shot color, and it's shot with as you can see, these spikes are real spikes, Bob.
Oh, okay.
This is shot with my Takahashi Epsilon 130. It's like 430 millimeters, f3.3, I believe it is. And I shot this probably in about, I think, just maybe 8 hours of data.
Wow.
Yeah. And what really was impressive to me, I think this is probably a testament to that scope being so fast, is with only 6 hours or whatever it was total data, I'm able to get some of the clouds around the actual nebula, the reflection nebula.
Okay.
Probably would need more like 25 hours of data to really, really pull it out. But for what I was able to do in that short amount of time, I was pretty impressed with it. And
so that area is just covered. That area is pretty much just surrounded by clouds.
Oh my God. Yeah, Harry, there's some cool shots. If you go online and you search, like a wide field Pleiades. Oh man, especially if you do it from a dark site, like a Bortle 2 site, it's awesome. I mean, it's almost like the Iris Nebula. It's just endless amounts of clouds. It's just so cool.
Okay.
Yeah, and here's my weapon of choice. This is what I shot that with.
Okay.
Yep. And I think
It's like a
that's
big,
it,
it's like
guys.
a big camera.
It's a 2600.
Okay.
That's how I do my flats. I do my flats the next day.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see
Yeah. Now,
your flat panel.
My 2600 is probably somewhere over Arizona or something. I don't know.
oh, you got one coming?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, you're gonna. It's the
I got the mono though. So
okay. Yeah, yeah. So the mono is I have the mono. Let me see. Well, no, that's my MC. I have. Don't mind my pictures here. These are Christmas and dog pictures. But yeah. So there's my 26 mm on my
Oh.
edge.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So that's the.
hmm. When do you use the bigger of the two versus the smaller one? I mean, what?
I'll start using the 9.25 more this time of year. You know, maybe like in the next probably the next new moon. I'll bring it out. I'm going to try to shoot M51. What's Bode's M51?
Okay.
No, it's
Yes,
81.
M81. Yeah, so I'll use it for smaller targets. And it's not it's only an f7. So an f7, it's got a decent focal length, so it's good for galaxies. So I'll use it during galaxy season and shoot mono. With f7, you almost have to shoot mono. Well, in my opinion, from a Bortle 7 anyway, because you're so limited because you got to use 3 nanometer filters and or 3 nanometer filters with an it just gets you more detail, more data than you could ever get with a debayered color camera.
Yeah, but the galaxies are hard to do with a narrow band. So
you guys shoot LRGB,
yeah.
yeah. So and that's it. And then I did take this. I don't know if anyone would appreciate this. This was I
That's
had
what
like
I
an extra
saw.
hour at the end of the night,
Yeah.
What is it?
and this is M35.
Huh.
And believe it or not, so this is just an open cluster. I believe it's in Gemini. And
Oh,
yeah, you
yeah.
familiar?
Yeah, there is one. Yeah, like you kind of find Gemini, Castor and Pollux, and go straight down, and you wind up into this cluster. I think.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I just was kind of just dancing around. Like I said, I had some free time. It was a beautiful night. I was already done shooting the horse head. It was behind a tree. So I just was bouncing around checking out some targets. I wanted to try out the Takahashi. I was making sure my collimation was all okay. So then I went in here and I took a shot, and then I noticed that there's another, which
You got
I
two
thought at the
clusters.
time
Yeah,
was a globular, but turns
yeah.
out it's an open cluster. Believe it or not.
Wow, look at all those stars. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that's actually zoomed in. That's cropped.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was pretty impressive too. I mean, just from looking at it, just looks like a bunch of dots to the untrained eye, but I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful area of the
Yeah, it
sky.
is.
So, yeah, and that's pretty much it, guys. And then the only other thing was I did want to ask some questions if any of you guys are uh have ever used a Takahashi Epsilon or a similar type scope.
No, I haven't.
No, okay.
Got a collimation problem.
Well, yeah. So I did. So I did the collimation with the collimating eyepiece, and it looked spot on. And then I brought it outside, and I took a star test like this, and it looks off. It was off to me. So I went ahead and I adjusted collimation so that it was perfect on here. And when I did it, it threw everything way off. I mean, all my corners were destroyed. So
Well, hold on a minute. So are you judging it from like this, what we see here?
So okay, so this is after. So then the next night, next day, I brought it in. I recollimated it using the collimating eyepiece, and I spent about 2 hours doing it. I got it as perfect as I can possibly get it. And then when I brought it out and I did a star test, and that's what I got. Which to me,
but when you say you're doing a star test, is this as focused as you'd get?
oh no.
You're
This
judging it-
is yeah, this is zoomed out.
Yeah, so you are, I mean, are you judging it from what we see here, or did you judge it much closer to focus?
So yeah, so closer to focus, it looked okay to me. So it looks like, so I brought it in the house that day. I recollimated it. It looked good again. I brought it out, was taking some shots. Everything looked good, focused. So then I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and zoom in and out, zip in focus or over focus, and then under focus. And this is the image I took. Just because what I want to do is I want to send this to Takahashi, and I want to ask them if that offset secondary, that little black dot in the middle, should that be off to the side? And I know this scope uses a different type of secondary. It's offset. If you look down the chamber, it's not perfectly center like in a
Right.
like a
Right.
SCT.
Right.
I don't know.
I think what you're doing with your eyepiece is probably correct.
Probably correct.
Even with a SCT where the secondary is in the middle, I've read that if you're judging it by something like what we see on the screen right now, that it doesn't mean that it's not collimated.
Okay.
And in fact,
well, that's what I was hoping I'd hear.
So I bought some software called MetaGuide, META guide. I forget how much it was. It wasn't too expensive. I use that whenever I get my SCT out. There's a little bit of a learning curve with it, but basically you just point at any star and you turn the software on, and it shows the field, and then it basically the idea is to move there's like a dot that you have to move into the center of the field using the collimating screws. That's, to me, is the best way I've found to get collimation, because it's based on looking at an image, and so it measures the diffraction pattern and all that kind of stuff in real time.
Okay,
so you might try that, but I don't think what we're looking at right now necessarily means it's not collimated.
Okay, well, that's good. That's kind of what I was hoping for, and I just haven't gotten around to it. Like I said, what I didn't decide with the eyepiece, I didn't want to spend too much time, because actually what I failed to mention is I actually just upgraded the focuser. I put a moonlight focuser on here.
Yeah.
So I knew that I was going to have to recollimate the whole thing all over again anyway. So I just did it quickly. And like I said, I mean, let me go back to that. Oh, sorry. Let me see wherever that picture is. This one. Yeah, right here. So this was when it was focused. So to me, it looked like it was on.
Yeah. I think you're okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That's what I was kind of hoping. And then one last thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if it is a little bit off, what will you see in your pictures?
Well, good question. I don't know, Harry. I'll be honest. I know maybe like the corners, maybe you'll start clipping. Maybe I'm actually not 100% sure. I know you won't get the best performance out of your scope as far as light gathering.
Okay.
But I'll tell you one thing, when I adjusted it, so like I said, I saw this the first time and I thought, oh man, I'm out. So I'm out of collimation. So I adjusted so that black dot was dead in the middle. And like I mentioned, when I did that, all the stars in the corner, they started looking like shrimp, or like backwards C's. They were all like really messed up. It was definitely, I screwed something up. But if you looked in the middle, it was dead on. So
yeah,
I don't know. So
Well,
I was really.
Are you sure that your back focus was right?
Yeah, back focus is perfect. I mean, this scope is 56.2. I'm at 56.8 with a 2mm focus. So yeah, because when I first got it, it was perfect. I mean, all my guiding, everything was perfect. So and that's with the same camera setup, everything, none of that changed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if you're out of back focus, that'll change the stars on the edges.
Yeah, and this was weird though. This was almost like they weren't like stretched. They were actually like being cut off. They were weird looking. Yeah, this is the reason why I always have refractors.
The other thing is, with that moonlight, maybe there's a little bit of a tilt.
Well, the moonlight I didn't try yet. So the moonlight I just installed 2 nights ago. I haven't even tried it yet.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but the moonlight. So from what like I said, I spent the entire night last night doing it. And that's the one last thing I was going to touch on is I wanted to show you this. So I had to get a Moonlight focuser to work with the ASI Air. Obviously, you can't use the Moonlight electronic focuser. Well, if you call the guy over at Moonlight and you tell him this, he doesn't really want to hear too much. But I bought probably 6 Moonlight focusers from him. So I had a good conversation with him, and I just gave him my opinion. I said, I think you're cutting out a lot of business by not making a focuser that would work with the ZWO EAF. Well, lo and behold, coming soon, probably in the next 6 months, Moonlight is actually going to start making ZWO EAF focusers that are compatible with the ZWO EAF with a bracket specifically designed for the ZWO.
Huh.
So it's pretty cool. It's actually great news for anyone who's stuck with a stock focuser or doesn't want to use, so coming soon. So anyway, what I wanted to show you here was I found online a 3D printed bracket that somebody made for a Moonlight focuser with a ZWO EAF.
Yeah.
Well, just so you know, just a good little tip. If you ever need anything 3D printed, Cherry Hill Library, all you got to do is pay for the material. This thing cost me $3.50. Online, it's about $100.
Whoa.
And all you do is you email the guy, you call the computer lab, you email him the STL file. This took 10 hours. He started it the night before. He called me the next morning, said, Jim, your thing's ready. It's $3.50.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
amazing.
So I was
need
gonna,
a library. Do you need a library card?
No, I don't even live in Cherry Hill.
so I was going to offer to do it for $50 on my 3D printer, but you got me beat.
I got you beat. Yeah. Do you have one?
I have a little cheapo one that I sort of put my toe in the water to learn about 3D. I may eventually get a better one, but yeah, I've got a little one. I've printed like brackets for ASI airs and for stuff like that, and little lens caps, and my Lost Mandy mount. Some of the bolts are really hard to turn, so there's some guy put a tool out there that makes it really easy to things like that. But nothing.
Hey, that's
fantastic.
exactly what you need it for. And there's a friend of mine, this kid Rupesh. He usually prints it for me. He has a printer, and he don't charge me, but he's away on vacation. So I was getting desperate. I knew the focuser was coming. I knew I didn't want to wait for him to come back from vacation. So I did some digging. I couldn't believe it. So there you go. If you need anything printed for cheap, there you go.
Okay. Well, thanks for all that, Jim. Dennis, have you been doing any imaging?
No, I'm not.
Okay. All right.
I'm here just to observe. This is my first meeting.
Yeah.
I'm just here to observe what's going on.
You are we're thrilled to have you, and I won't take David's customary comment about that you're Moses or something like that, but
That's okay. No, this stuff, the way you guys are doing it is over and above what I've ever accomplished. I've shot the DSLR through my telescopes and got pretty average images, and I wasn't really happy with them. That's why I don't show them to anybody. But equipment's better now than a few years ago when I was trying to do it. So I might be able to try it better or shot at doing it.
Well, you're more than welcome, and questions, let us know.
Okay, thank you.
Michelle, you got anything you want to talk about or share or?
All of my shooting in the past month and a half has been all holiday stuff. So I've been photographing events, photographing portraits. I'm still sitting here editing orders that are coming in. So yeah, I got nothing. I just, when you work at this crap for a living, sometimes, yeah, sometimes doing it for fun always takes a back seat,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally understand.
But I enjoy shooting anyway. So, I've been getting out with the kids, trying to get them oriented to the sky, stuff like that.
Yep.
But no imaging.
Yep. Okay.
So Bob, I got one more image I'd like to share just because I tried something new process-wise, and I think it kind of turned out nice. I'd be interested in getting some feedback. It's a narrow band of the Clam Nebula.
Okay.
Let's see. So on the left is the H alpha, on the right is the O3. So you can see I've got a lot better data with the H alpha than the O3, and I need a lot more time, I think, to get a better O3 image. So what I decided to try was I was going to do an LRGB just with these two frames here. And I just used for the L and the R, the hydrogen, and the G and the B, I used the oxygen. And, oops. This is how it turned out. So I'm not sure if it made a difference rather than just doing a regular HOO with this, but it seemed, I was thinking that by using the luminance, the alpha channel, H alpha for luminance, I might get finer detail throughout the whole image. So I don't know if I'm imagining that or not.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. I mean,
Yeah.
whenever you use HA, even if you use it for a luminance channel, I mean, HA RGB image, I've done a few. I don't remember which ones I've shot with, but yeah, the HA, sometimes it does alter the image a little bit. But it's I mean, yeah, you can clearly see that's HA data there. I mean, that's where you're getting all that real sharp data.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I've never done it before.
Yeah, I do it somewhat routinely. I'll at least compare the HA with, if I've shot a true luminance, I'll compare the two. Sometimes the HA kind of overpowers the image. Like if it's a, you know, if it's a color image of either narrowband or wideband, and you throw the H alpha on there, sometimes it almost looks like it's a black and white image because it's so strong. But
yeah.
but so yeah, you know, if you're doing like using the LRGB tool in PixInsight, you may want to turn the percentage down on the L if you're using the HA. But yeah, definitely. In fact, I was playing around with the image just the other day, and I did almost this exact same thing, and I thought, you know, what's the difference? So I made it with and without the HA in the luminance channel, and then I used pixel math and subtracted the two from each other just to see the difference. And yeah, it definitely adds you know, clarity to the structures. But yeah, that's cool.
I figured that oxygen frame is just going to add fuzziness to it unless I do something about it. So that's why I thought I'd use the luminance from the hydrogen alpha, that it may give me more structure to the oxygen. That's what I thought. Although you don't see much oxygen. Of course, in this palette, it's going to be oxygen is where it's white.
Happy New Year, Michael.
Right.
Recently, I created a lot of tutorials about individual pixels.
Somebody's playing that link that I sent.
Oh.
Hey, Mark,
Yeah.
what do you think that little blue splotch is there in the middle?
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Well, you know, I was looking at it too and asking myself the same question. I mean, if there's no hydrogen, what you're going to get is sort of a cyan color would be the green and the blue combined.
Yeah.
So anywhere you would see cyan in this palette, that would be rich in oxygen and low in hydrogen. Rich in oxygen and high in hydrogen would be white. But if there's no red, it's just green and blue, which is the oxygen. So that would be sort of a teal colored cyan.
So go back to your oxygen frame.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right
see,
here.
there it is. It's right there.
Yeah. Okay.
And
How
that
many
just
hours is that?
This is 55 5-minute exposures. And
Yeah,
this was
that
on
is
the
such a
9th
dim
of-
target, huh?
What's that?
That's a very dim target.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's a good amount of hydrogen, but yeah, oxygen, not so much. I've seen other people's clam, and it's just this lovely blue shade in the center, almost like a lagoon. I don't know how they do that. This must be a heck of a lot of data, or they're doing something in post-process that I don't understand.
Yeah, it's a lot of data. Darker site.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
thanks for looking.
Yep. Okay, I think I've just got one image to show, and then I'll go into the. We'll crowdsource a PixInsight process here in a minute. But let me see here. You guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is a 3-panel mosaic.
Oh.
Um,
Three panels. Wow.
and this is the first target I've done what I'll say is my sort of my new workflow using the 3 exterminators.
Hmm.
And
That looks great.
Ghostbusters, right? The 3 Ghostbuster guys.
yeah. And I don't like the stars. So I've just recently started whenever I do narrowband, I also take a few RGB images to throw together to make stars so I can try to get some better star color. I didn't do that with this one, so I'm not happy with the stars here, but I can tell you that Blur Exterminator made a huge difference in like, can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like this area right here,
Yeah.
activate. Can I zoom in?
Yeah.
Oh,
There's a
yeah,
nice line up on the top toolbar. Oh, there you go.
Oops.
Yeah, and the fish. I mean, the fish head is. You can see a lot of good detail. Yeah.
In here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun to look at the before and after of that Blur Exterminator. All the stars get a little tighter and smaller, and
Yeah.
all those kinds of details just pop out.
Got some halos here that I didn't do a good job on, but
What
anyway,
filter is this?
this was L Extreme, I think. Hold a second. It's been a while since I shot this. Heart and Soul. Yeah, this is with the Space Cat or Red Cat, and the L Extreme.
Okay. Yeah, I mean the L Extreme's known to have a little bit of halos, but you can't even see it. I mean, I can't tell.
Yeah. Yeah, I was pretty happy with it. I spent a lot of time on the processing.
That's awesome. I love, my favorite thing about it is I love your how you captured it. I mean, that's so cool that we printed on like a wide glass image. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. And it was weird because when I planned out the mosaic, I knew it was going to be tight on the sides. And when I shot it, it turned out they weren't exactly the long side of the 3 panels wasn't exactly parallel to each other. And so I ended up with this like 3 image jagged like
Yeah.
thing. And so then when I cropped it, I had to crop it at an angle and try and fit everything in. And it just barely, I mean, I would like to have a little more room around the heart, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, it looks like you got it all. I mean,
Yeah. So
that's cool.
I was pretty happy with it.
I have no idea why they call it the Soul Nebula. Does anyone know why?
Because it's next to the heart. That's why.
Yeah,
looks like a baby pig to me.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's even got like an eye and a mouth.
Like a blob.
Maybe like an embryo or a fetus. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I thought it would be fun to I have some data of IC405, which is the flame, not flame, the what's it called? Shoot, what do they call it? It's not the flame, it's the
Running Man? I don't know.
no.
Star?
It doesn't matter. Someone look up IC405 while we're
Flaming Star Nebula.
What's that?
I shot it. It's Flaming Star
Yeah,
Nebula.
yeah, Flaming Star. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, in Auriga.
So first I'll just show you my log here. So just it's my sort of my process. So this is kind of how I keep track, because if I was going nuts when I was shooting a lot of targets and I was just losing track of everything.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've got all my targets back here. And so, and then when I take flats and dark flats, I keep track of when I did them. And, you know, especially when you start running 2 rigs and you got different cameras and it's
Yeah.
hard to remember what filter you used and all that. So anyway, so this is the most recent thing I shot, which is IC405. So I did RGB, HA 03 and sulfur. I did 300 seconds, 5 minutes on the narrowband and 2 minutes on the RGB. I only shot 13 of the R and G and B, and you can see here, so I had a total of 17 hours of data, but once I did my blank and my subframe selector, I'm down to 11.3 hours, 11 and a half hours. So I only used about 66% of my subs. And this was within my 1000mm Newtonian -10, and this I using the ASI 1600 mm. So
That's cool. That's very organized. I mean,
Yeah, I like that. 'Cause
that's something I would love to do, but I am incapable. I do not have that organizational DNA in me.
yeah, well,
it's good.
I do, but it kind of comes and goes. And I just about the 3rd or 4th time I opened up an image and I started thinking, okay, now how did I shoot this, and where are the subs, and which flats apply to
Yeah.
this one, and all that. So now I can go back and kind of figure out, you know, these are the flats and the darks that fit to that. So
You know, one thing I'm gonna just go back on. So the one thing you mentioned, and I think this is probably crucial that I think a lot of astrophotographers lose out on, is like you said, using 66% of your data. Everyone's so caught up on using, oh, I got to get 10 hours, 10 hours, 10 hours. And then they go out and they process 10 hours. In reality, to get 10 hours, you need to shoot 14 hours. And it's using that subframe selector or being very critical about going through your images in the bling tool and PixInsight or whatever you use, taking your top 75% of your images and getting rid of the other, that dramatic difference you'll see on your images.
Okay.
okay, so
Yeah.
here we are. You guys can see PixInsight.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, so I've got there's the HA. I already stacked all of them and, you know, did all that. I use the was it WPP, whatever, the weighted batch pre-processing script in PixInsight. So there's the HA, there's all the oxygen data, and there's the sulfur. And then there is red, green, and blue. Just a little bit of blue. So it's a pretty red target. So what I thought we'd do is let's crowdsource this thing and say, okay, what are we gonna do next? See how far we can get in half hour, 45 minutes here. And those who are kind of new to PixInsight can see the process, and those who have been using it for a while, maybe we'll see something that, you know, we do differently and maybe help each other out. So
Bob, why does it come over? And this is something I've been just playing around with PixInsight. Some of the things will seem to only work if your photo. I have a color camera, so it's RGB, but you have to convert it into grayscale through this LCL function or something like that. Why are these all like grayscale? Why are there not any color in here? Did you make them colorless, or
no, this is a mono camera.
So it's always gonna, okay, so it's always gonna look like that when it comes off of there. No
Yeah.
matter what color, you call it red, it's still gonna look kind of like gray.
Right.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, when you use a one-shot color, Harry,
Yeah.
it looks like it's gray because it's not been debayered.
Yeah, okay.
So you need to run through a bearing. Now, when I stack, it does it kind of automatically, so I don't need to actually do it. It's part of
Okay.
my stacking software. But if you just bring a raw image into a color image into PixInsight, it's not going to look color until you debayer it.
Okay.
What kind of software is this?
it's called PixInsight, PIXINSIGHT.
A lot of people use this.
Yeah, this is in my opinion, it's the gold standard, but it's one of those things that gives you enough rope that you can hang yourself till you learn how to
And
avoid that.
the interface is a little unusual, so it takes some getting used to, but
Yeah. Okay, guys, what do we do first here?
Linear fit.
You want to do that before we do a background extraction?
Okay, I thought you already did them. So you didn't do them at all.
I didn't do DBE or ABE.
Or no histogram, stretch, or nothing. They're all
No.
linear.
These are all
Okay.
linear.
yeah, auto stretch.
Yeah, so if I turn this off, so they're all linear.
Okay.
This is out of the only thing I've done here is stacked them. This is like raw right out of the stack.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
no, I mean, personally, I always do DB after I stack them.
Yes.
You mean,
Yep.
yeah, after you stack, yeah.
I'm sorry, after I combine them.
Oh,
Oh,
so
Yeah.
so you mix the gradients and then try and get rid of them at once.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, because what I'll do is, so with your data here, your LRGB, I mean, essentially, you're using that for data, or you're just using that for stars.
Just for stars.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the-
So obviously, so with that one, I would stack or combine them. Use star exterminator, and neutralize the background. And
wait, slow down. So what are we
Okay,
gonna
okay.
do? So what are we gonna do first here? Are we gonna just you're just gonna throw it together into make it a color image without doing anything else to it first? Mark,
Okay,
what would you do?
well, I don't start with monochrome. I have a one-shot color camera, so this
Oh,
is
okay,
a little
okay.
bit starting off on a different point than
Got
I
it.
ever start. So
Got it.
Denoise them all.
I mean, when my color images, the first thing I do
Wrong.
is a crop if there's just some stacking artifacts or whatever, and then I'll use the background extraction.
yeah, I
And,
mean,
and then
I'm not-
I do the
No.
color calibration if it's a color image, and then I go into the exterminator suite all before I do any. Well, it's all still linear. That's sort of my start.
and let me see the three narrowband images. So from what I saw, the three narrowband images. Okay, so that one needs DVE right there. That one doesn't need it, and neither does your HA. Doesn't really need it. So the way I'm thinking is, I'm saying you combine. Well, so are we doing a SHO image, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we can play around with. We can make it HOO. We can. I mean, once we get to that point, we can mix it a bunch of different ways, right?
Okay.
Okay. Well, so I did do the DBE on the HA, which is just here. You can't. There wasn't much of a gradient. But just for the benefit of everyone, I'll just go do a quick dynamic background extraction on the. What is
Yeah,
this?
I just find that with the DBE, in my opinion, and you can probably do a test. You can do a small before and after sample, like a preview. The DBE is gonna really noise that image up. It's gonna really destroy. I mean, is it gonna pull some data? Yeah, but it's also gonna pull. So it's gonna pull good signal. It kind of makes it really grainy when you have very little signal like that. So that's beforehand, right?
Yeah, this is before.
Okay. Yeah. So let's see it.
So let me
It
go.
looks pretty smooth there.
So, all right. So we'll do it. Didn't mean to do that. So I don't know how everyone uses it, but for this kind of gradient, I do subtraction.
Mhm.
I always increase the size of the samples to at least 25.
Yeah, I do 200. I go big. I'm
200.
lazy.
How do you
I do-
avoid the stars?
I don't avoid them.
Well, you're supposed to.
Just do 200 and go around the entire perimeter, hit some of the major clear areas.
So you actually enter in by hand 200.
Well, I do sometimes. It depends on the image because you are supposed to not include stars in the samples. And if you generate them automatically, you got, in my opinion, you got to go look at every one of them, make sure it's not on a star. Whereas if you do it by hand like this, I can just click and I can look in the box and there's no stars there. I can let go. I can click, no stars, let go. But if I get over here there's a star, right? So I can just move it over a little bit. And that one's okay. Click.
Yeah. So what I do is because I increase my tolerance. So essentially, what it's doing when you do a sample radius of 200, you're doing a much larger radius, but your tolerance is changed. You're now almost ignoring those little outliers of those black stars that are sitting in
Oh,
there.
I misunderstood. You mean the radius 200, not the number of sample points.
No,
200.
radius.
Oh, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
That's different.
So that's B200.
Yeah. So now if you click on one of them. All right. Yeah. So you see 99% of that is background. That black little dot in there, when it's all done mathematically, when it's extracting that background, it's not even gonna look at that black dot. It's gonna know that the majority of the background is the area that's behind the star. But yeah, you could go around and click around the stars. I just found from the million times and hours I tested these, I didn't really see much of a difference. And
Well,
and I'll be honest, and Sean Nielsen is the one that actually implemented the theory, and I tested him, and I don't know if you like his videos, but he's pretty good.
I usually go by what Adam Block says. So
Yeah.
and I've watched him do this a million times. But anyway, we don't have to do this perfect, but
so why wouldn't you just generate an automatic one and then just clean it up?
well, I do that sometimes, but if there's a million stars, I'm going to have to move every single one of them anyway. So
Yeah,
why
hear
not
you.
just put them where I want
Yeah.
them, right?
I guess it depends on the image. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you see on the bottom left, you had those two red blocks. What do you
Yeah.
do about that?
I would go change the tolerance.
Okay, yeah. So just so I know, my default, I do 2 for my tolerance, and I do my shadows relaxation at 6.
Yeah, I go to at least 1 usually.
Yeah.
I do. So here's the gradient. You can see.
Yeah, that looked good.
But yeah, I would normally just make this 1, and that didn't do it. That didn't do it.
When you say didn't do it, are you looking at the preview? And
No, I'm still getting the green. Oh, there they go. The
Oh,
green.
oh, I see.
I had green ones, right? I mean,
I
red
see.
ones. Red ones.
I see.
Okay. So anyway, all right. So go back to this. We'll get rid of this background, and we're going to use this one. Okay. So let's just imagine that we did all 3 of them. We've got 2 of them anyway. So now
zoom into that 03 real quick. This is what so that looked pretty good. I mean, it's
not any worse than it was before.
No.
I think you've got more detail on the left side of the image there. There's more of a clear sort of.
Ooh, don't look at those shapes.
Zoom out a little bit. Ah! Yeah, see there on the left half of the screen, you're certainly getting some oxygen there.
You're getting something there, yeah.
Well, there's
yeah, it's a little more defined.
Before is on the right, and after on the left. So okay, so what do you want to do now?
Well, I don't usually combine my make my my palette until after I've pretty much finished everything. So
But let's look at the signal background here. So if you look at the K value down at the bottom, down here, it's about 0.003. Up here, 0.003. So 003, 003. Look at the HA, it's 0.00. Well, it's a little less. It's close. And the sulfur is 0.07. So I've heard different things about this, about which one to use as the reference for the linear fit. I've heard go look at the noise level and use the least noisiest one as the reference. And I've also heard go look at the one with the lowest background signal. Anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I always done HA. But sometimes you're right. If you use HA and you're trying to linear fit to 03, it's going to blow it out too much. So I guess, I don't have a really an actual thing I live by. I just do trial and error. I see which one looks better. Also by eye. I mean, looking at all three of your images, I think you could probably pixel math them together right now and combine them and be fine.
Okay.
what does the linear fit do? That's not currently something I've got in my repertoire.
So it adjusts the basically I guess the median value of the image, so that you can match them so that they have the same median signal.
Oh, for monochrome, say RGB,
Right.
it's a way to get the right sort of balance between
Right.
the three different
Exactly.
colors.
Exactly.
So if you've got a one-shot color, you're not really needing
Right.
to do this.
Right. Although if you're doing one-shot color and let's say you're using an L extreme filter, some people separate the channels out, RGB, back down to mono, and then you might have that same question. But I do that sometimes when I'm shooting with L extreme, is I'll split the channels and work on them separately and then map them back. But
Because I've just been kind of eyeballing in curves to get sort of the weaker channel a little bit brighter. And so I've been sort of mixing in my narrowband one-shot color images. I've just been kind of eyeballing it rather than using something like this linear fit.
okay, so rather than go through the linear fit, we'll do what Spike suggested. And so what are we going to do? HSO?
Sure.
Yeah.
So that is HA start TBE and
SHO.
oh, you want to do SHO? Okay. All right. So this is
I never tried the LRGB combination.
I've heard that if you use it, it has this chrominance noise reduction thing here, and that does a good job. So that's why I use it instead of the channel combination.
I use pixel math as this.
Well, that's another, where's the sulfur?
That's
Oh,
nice.
Is it off the bottom?
No, it's because we didn't do the DB to it. So it's
Oh, I see. It's
SI start.
There you go. Oops, wrong one.
Did you select the 03 that was DBE?
Oh, you're right.
There you go. Moment of truth.
Cool. Red skies.
doing unlinked stretch.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Okay,
Click,
so
yeah, there.
uncheck. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Gets you closer.
There you go. So that looks pretty good. So obviously you got magenta stars. So Mark, you'd fix that right away, right?
Yeah, yeah, you can use your noise SCNR,
Yeah.
remove the magenta, just invert the image, then do SCNR on it, and then re-invert it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't care about these stars.
Okay, yeah. So at this point now, this is still a linear image, correct?
Right.
Okay, so what I would do, just my opinion, so I always go, I feel as if Star Exterminator does not work very well on a 100% linear image. So what I always do is I take a histogram transformation and I do a mild stretch, maybe 20%. After I do that, then I run the Star Exterminator and I create two images, a star image and a starless image. And that's what then I start processing. But you got to histogram it a little bit first. I mean, you could try it, but I always found that if it's a completely linear image, that the Star Exterminator doesn't work quite as well. And I always turn on unscreened stars as well, but you don't have to.
So let's see what this does. But yeah, that I would, regardless of exactly how, at this point, in my opinion, you pull out the stars, especially if you're not going to use them.
Right.
Because they're just in the way.
I kind of like the purple stars.
This is another galaxy with different physical laws. Another universe means
Yeah.
physical laws.
It's like the Joker galaxy.
Yeah.
This is what it would look like if you were at a concert.
Yeah. Look at that beautiful detail on the flaming star. I mean, that is such a cool target. All right.
There you go.
Oh.
It's good for me. So this is trash
I
heap.
can use that, right? Yeah.
Okay, so now what are we gonna do?
So this is where this is the stage where I then run the dynamic background extraction, because now at this point, now there is no stars. So I select all my surrounding area. But again, it doesn't, I'm sure you could probably do it either way. But this is when I normally run the DBE, because I don't run the DBE on the starless image. But again, you probably don't have to.
No,
but
fine.
to get rid of like some of those, like those corner images, like those corner colors, there's that red glare.
Now, if you've got a particularly intractable background noise, like a gradient, do you ever just run the background extraction multiple times, one after the other?
Yeah, I get nervous with the DBE. I feel the DBE can be damaging to the image. So I really mark for a lot of times, if I have good data, I don't run DBE. I never want to.
Because I actually, what I've been doing lately, sort of my mentor turned me onto this in September. In AstroPixel processor, there's a light pollution removal tool that I think works super well. And so when I do that in AstroPixel processor and then bring it over to PixInsight, if I run the background extraction, there are just almost no gradients to extract. So it's the one thing that I just started doing before I even get into PixInsight.
Right.
This is exactly how Cyril does this.
Yeah, all right, that's good enough for this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this again. See what we got here.
So is that linked or unlinked?
Can't see it. Unlinked. Yeah.
Yeah, that don't look good. Yeah, that destroyed the image.
Yeah.
What are you looking at to say that?
It just looks look in the very bottom of the image. I mean, see that real dark area that's it.
Yeah.
That's that's not naturally there. So it took out good data.
You talking about here? Or
Yeah.
over here?
On the very bottom. Yeah, like that little, look at that real dark hole. Yeah, so there's, yeah, I mean it's clipping data is what it's doing.
Well, it's probably, you say that was not background, that was actual real
I thi-
nebula that it removed.
Yeah,
I'm saying,
I
how
mean,
do you know for sure?
well, you really don't, but I mean that would be magical if it was that much.
I mean, I'm looking at these, these three objects here.
Yeah.
Here, you're right. The background
Yeah.
around these is,
Yeah.
I think
Oh.
if you went back, and you didn't select any spots with any green or very little nebulosity, it probably wouldn't remove that as much. Because you see how those green blocks, you have some blocks that are on green, so it's essentially telling the system that's the background. So
Yeah.
it's gonna chop that green out.
yeah, I took a bunch of them up, but I didn't take the time to do them all.
Yeah, I think you're right, the more I look at it. Because it would be different if there was a really strong gradient, like on the far right and not on the left.
Yeah, exactly.
That we knew there
It's
was a
almost
really
just
big
selecting that
gradient.
one spot.
The fact that there isn't that strong gradient makes you more confident that that's not gradient in the middle, because that would be kind of weird to have a gradient only in the middle.
Yeah, right. And we could look at the when it's done doing the process, look at what it extracted. You probably will see a big chunk of green in the bottom. This will help though by not
Got
having
one
a
more at 8 o'clock.
It does make it look more three-dimensional when you have those dark regions. It does seem like
Oh yeah.
there's more structure, but it's you're using an eraser, I guess, on your image.
We'll see.
So yeah, look, so it's getting rid of some of that red on the corners, which is good, is what we want. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, it didn't take as much
No,
of this time.
it's not as intensely black. Okay.
Yeah. Now,
Well, we'll go with it for now.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you know what?
We
So
didn't do blur yet.
Yeah, I'll do that next. So, or actually, I don't know. Do you do noise first or blur first?
I always
I
do
do
blur
noise
first.
and then blur.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so I would usually do noise first, but I just realized that what I should have done is I should have combined the red, green, and blue and aligned the RGB with the HSO.
Oh yeah.
I didn't, the stars, because they're separate stacks,
right.
so they're not
Yeah,
aligned,
they're
but that's
different
okay.
images.
That's okay. We're not going to get that far anyway. Okay, so, well, we can do it both ways. So let's see what happens here.
Yeah, I
Oop,
mean the
generating.
beauty of the noise exterminator, right? It's supposed to know what it should be cleaning and what it shouldn't be cleaning.
Well, all three of those exterminator programs are basically machine learning. They're neural nets. So they've been trained to know what to do, and that's with the technology that they all have in common, I guess.
Well, they all have a direct link to the Hubble.
Yeah.
Hey, Bob, one quick
Yeah.
question. What's the difference between apply and the little triangle that you drag over in terms of getting your function to be applied to the image? There's the apply there, the
You
square.
rarely use the circle. And
There's the
that's only when
square.
you're not really applying to one image, like you're doing a bunch of images in a batch. It's like any kind of a batch process. Is that right, Bob? It's sort of the batch processing button.
Yeah, so I'm not an expert on exactly the difference between the square, the circle, and the triangle. Mostly use the triangle to drag the process you want onto the image you want to use. But
Right.
but if you're doing something that is not one image, you're not working directly on one image, then it's usually the square or the circle. I'm not an expert. Jim
Okay.
probably knows it, but I don't know. I've just
Yeah,
learned.
I mean, that's the one the one criticism about Pix Insight. It's not the best and most intuitive program.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see if we can do before and after here.
Harry,
So
I
that's
usually use the
before.
triangle. That's what I use.
Okay.
Yeah, this way you can drag it to the
Oh,
actual
that
image.
that looks smooth.
So that's before.
Oh, sorry.
That's after.
Oh,
Before.
yeah.
After.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. See the difference.
In fact, I don't know. I might not even go that far, but just for the interest of time, we'll go back to.
Yeah, I don't think I usually go 0.9. I think I do a. Yeah, I've been running a 0.5. I've been maybe a little more timid about it.
All right, so let's start this down here a little lower. Come on. And we don't need anything to do with the stars. All right, I'm sorry, we can leave that at 0. Looks good. Let's do a
Preview.
Yep. It's working. It's working. It's working. There we go. Ooh, too much. Too much for my taste.
Oh, it's more than before or less than before?
No, this is the blur exterminator, so you can see it's I don't know. To me, it's overdone. These structures are too. They don't look natural. So if I go back, whoops, can't do that. So I'm turning it down here. Oh, wait a minute, that's sharpen the stars. Sorry, I'm doing the wrong one here. Non-stellar. I did the wrong slider. There we go. It was up at 0.98.
Okay.
All right, so now it's done. It's still, to my mind, it's still a little bit too much. Now we maybe. Close the preview. Oops, it's busy. Okay. So now let's zoom in here and let's go before, after. Let's go in some more. Before, after. Whoops, after. Before, after. It's not as pronounced as with some of my other images, but it does definitely make a difference. Before, after. Okay. All right, so we are still linear. So I bet there's, for every person in this group that's used Pix Insight, there's probably 2x different ways of stretching. We could there's no reason really to do photometric because there's no stars. I would do that on the stars before I add it back in.
Okay.
I don't like this image because it's so green. So I would have probably done a different palette, but
Yeah, well, that green, I would dial it. So as of right now, like I don't even look at the colors yet. So because all that could be adjusted later, right?
well,
So
either that or you can change it in the channel combination.
Yeah, so exactly. So when you do the pixel math, and you do the SHO, there's some different calculations. But I'll be honest, Bob, I still believe you go with SHO. I mean, you can run an SCNR on this right now and do like a 40% reduction SCNR, and you'd be really impressed. All that, because yeah, right now it's way too green. Obviously, you would never keep it this way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
But I do that later. I want all the data intact when I start doing my stretch. I don't want to start messing with, messing with the colors just yet. But I guess it's preference.
How do you know what color you're trying for?
So SCNR just gets rid of the green.
Right.
Well, you can get rid of any color you want.
Oh, right.
It's just by
it's just
default.
normally used for green because
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And now this area here, this is going to be a very green. I mean, obviously, because this is a super hydrogen rich area. So you're really going to see a lot of hydrogen, which is going to be overly green.
Okay.
which is why I never use this palette.
Yeah.
Well, if you would amplify, before you combine some of the weaker signals, you wouldn't get as green an image. Now that's sort of arbitrary, I suppose, but that's what I would do is I would use something like curves to even. Of course, I'm doing all this after it's no longer linear. I don't follow this workflow. So.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
Is there like an auto stretch that you can apply and then just tweak it after it? Like tweak the history, like, apply an auto stretch and then use that as the basis.
Yeah. So the way a lot of people teach is that you go down here now that you've used screen transfer function, you then go up here and you get, whoops, what happened to my, you get histogram transformation and you take it back to linear, you reset this, and then you go to your screen transfer function and you take this. Oh, wait a minute. I gotta go there. Then you take this triangle and you drag it over and put it on the histogram transformation bar.
Okay.
And then you can go back to linear, and then you can stretch it.
Preview, have to turn preview.
Oh, yeah, that would help.
I make a mistake all the time.
So then you can go do your stretch to your own liking here.
So it gives you a starting point.
Yeah.
I find that on really dim images that the auto stretch really does a nice job of hunting for the sweet spot. So I'm using the auto stretch very much as a starting point for most of my images.
Yeah, well, I've kind of gotten away from the histogram and the STF, and I've been using there's something called generalized. What's it called? Generalized. I have it somewhere here. It's up here. It's fairly new. Gotta find it here.
There it is, hyperbolic stretch.
Yeah, generalized hyperbolic stretch, and this. So there's a link that I put in the chat, and it's to this guy from Austria that is now doing a ton of PixInsight tutorials and stuff. And I've been watching a lot of his stuff, and I've learned a lot from him. And he has, you can't see it very well, but there's this chart that he has, which just lays out his whole process for the stars and for narrowband and for wideband. And I've just found that this generalized stretch is
Now that's an add-on to PixInsight, isn't it?
yeah, it is.
Yeah, because I don't see it.
Yeah, but it's free. It's
Okay.
yeah, it might be in your scripts. It used to be a script, and then they just recently made it in the utilities under scripts. It might be there, but you
No,
can.
not in mine. No.
Okay, yeah, I had to set it up, but it's easy to find and it's free.
Okay.
Can you go
What-
back to the histogram transformation and reset the image again? I want to see something. Because I do it a little differently. I want to see if you. So is that the preview? I'm sorry, I was driving, so I missed it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so what I do is I would reset it back to linear. Can you reset it back to linear? Is that completely linear, or is that
Yep.
stretched a little bit?
That's linear.
That's linear there.
Yep.
Okay, so what I do is I start off with linear here, and you click the little reset the histogram transformation settings, and then hit the checkbox. I would even close screen transfer. I don't even use screen transfer. Okay. Now, is there a
what does the checkbox do? What does that do?
checkbox? It's tracking the image that you're on. So So what it will do is if that's not checked, it kind of links it to that image. Is that right, Bob? Is that how you would explain it?
Yeah. It automatically applies itself to whatever image you have highlighted or you have selected.
Right.
Okay.
Now it's funny because I can't see. Did you change that to dots? Is that different? Because mine don't say isn't usually dots.
No, I haven't changed anything.
See, it says dots. Mine didn't say that. I'm lines. I think I'm lines. There you go. All right. So then what at this point is I would grab that middle triangle and just slightly stretch it. I'll turn a preview on. I'm sorry. Do a preview first. Okay, there you go. So I would stretch it over a little bit. All right, and then I would stop there and I would hit apply. So that you hit the square. Okay, then I hit reset. Yep. And then what I would do is now I would clip on the left side. So I'd clip from the left. So I'd go just, and you see where it shows the percentages of how much is being cut off. So leave it about, right about there. So you're only cutting off 0.1. So you're not clipping any data. And then I would hit apply again. Oh, no, not reset. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I'm the one that did it.
Yeah, there you go. And hit apply. And then I would reset it now. Yep. And then I would stretch it again.
So this is what I do when I use Photoshop, basically.
Okay. Yeah. So
I do a levels adjustment and then a curves adjustment and a levels adjustment and then a curves adjustment.
Okay. Yeah. So we're on the same page. So, and I just find by doing it this way, you're able to massage the data much better to what you like.
Yeah. So supposedly this generalized one
will do.
It allows you to do that, but it's also supposed to keep all the colors intact. You can't mess up the colors with it.
Oh, that's cool.
And
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. So yeah, you might look it up. And I'm only used it a few times now, but I really like it. So we applied that a bunch of times.
On the curb by the street, in the street. Is Jimmy coming?
Okay, so you go and you put this line here, this yellow line, and then you click this and send to SAP, and it sends it down here, sets it for you, and then similarly you can just do stretch factor here, and it basically need a preview. I always forget that. And then you do this. You can do the stretch here, but it's supposed to keep all the fidelity to the colors.
Which we only have one color.
Well, yeah, exactly. But if you're doing stars, it really makes a difference with stars.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a neat tool. I've never tried it. I'm gonna definitely look at that today.
So anyway, all right, so now we're stretched. What would you do next?
Dark structure enhance. Do something like that. Maybe to try to pull out some of the darker nebulosity. Although it looks like it's pretty good now. I mean,
well, there's not a lot of dark structures here, so
yeah,
there's some, but it's not.
Well, there were more when you took out too much background.
Okay,
Right.
thanks for that.
Deconvolution.
Hey, I was with you on that. I mean,
All right, so here's our dark structures. Yeah, I did some. Come on, finish up. There we go.
I,
Before, after,
yeah,
for,
absolutely.
after.
You can see the difference.
yeah, but it looks like it's.
It might have
Like
went a little extreme. Yeah,
I
it might
like
have went a little.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks like it's got the chicken pox or something. No, yeah, I like it with the little blurrier.
all right, so that's off, so we can. All right, yeah, so I usually do that later, but yeah, I guess you can do it just about any time. And at this point, I would probably look at doing the noise again because of the stretch.
Mhm.
I might try and just do a little bit of more noise reduction.
Mhm.
And then I might do a curves just to play with trying to bring out.
See, when I use curves, it's about getting the background sky to be the right kind of darkness. So it's a trade-off between really dark background and some of the really fainter structures. And then also on the other end of the curve to really amplify some of the detail. So you can see some stuff that's not really showing, but when you brighten it up, you get a little bit more structure. So that's kind of how I use curves, is to sort of navigate what I want the sky to look like and how much more structure I can reveal in the bright part of it.
Yeah, I use it for a lot of things. You know, an S curve to make a little bit more contrast. Sometimes I'll play around with individual channels. The green
Yep.
channel, obviously here, the green channel is going to make a big difference. I might look at the,
If you have, and I guess this is more of a histogram transformation question. If you've got the peaks for the three color channels are not lying in sync on top of each other, do you ever just sort of in a histogram transform try to align those peaks?
I do sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like sometimes that it's kind of a crude way maybe of getting the white balance right.
Yeah, I definitely do that in Photoshop because
Yeah,
Photoshop doesn't have all the tools.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing that killed us starting with it, just doing it, just a straight SHO, and you know, just we're I think at this point now we're just so swamped with green because we swamped that channel. What were you going to do? HSO?
Yep.
I never did that before.
I kind of like the SHO sometimes because if you do have, pretty balanced amount of signal from all three sources, all three wavelengths, it's kind of really easy to see where the different, where the sulfur rich region is, where the hydrogen rich is.
Yeah.
A little bit easier than with the HSO. That's just to my eye.
Yeah. I think this would just be a perfect candidate for pixel math where you can feather it a little bit. You can say, 70% hydrogen times 30% oxygen or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's super artificial, but it's kind of all artificial at this point anyway, right?
Well, and you're doing a narrow band, so you're not talking about a natural color, just
Right.
definition at this point. So at that point, it's like, for me, the principle is, am I revealing more structure? Can you see more structure?
How'd you do that?
See, I like this much better. I like SHO. I like HOO or SA or HSO.
HSO.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
depending
looks
on-
good. That looks
depend-
like
more-
the
That looks
Salisbury
good.
steak nebula.
What's
Like
that?
what the, go ahead.
I said it looks like the Salisbury steak nebula.
I think that's more
Okay,
like,
how did you do that and how did you get the stars back in?
Well, I went back to this called LRGB combination.
Yeah,
I went back to that, and I just changed which of my original 3 I mapped to the color palette.
so Harry,
okay.
he just started over from the beginning. He
Yeah.
didn't.
So
go
the one we
backwards.
see that
Started over.
that one's still there.
okay. Got it.
No, I started all over.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got it. I got it.
Just for curiosity, do an HOO or HSS,
HSS?
That's going to be all red.
all red.
Yeah.
Well, not if there's a strong sulfur. You got a pretty strong sulfur channel.
Strong
don't you?
sulfur, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but this. Well, yeah, yeah, I do. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it might even be like a purplish or something.
Would you say HSS?
HSS,
Right.
essentially
You'll
an
take the blue to the top
essentially
one.
HOO, but we're using
Yeah.
the S instead of the O.
Yeah, I'm curious about this too. So it's going to be red and white, and maybe some cyan, because cyan would be where it's strong sulfur and not much hydrogen.
I think we broke it.
It doesn't take this long, does it?
It's doing the noise reduction.
Okay.
Yep, the chrominance. I don't think I usually have checked that. There we are.
Ooh.
Well, you need
Yeah.
to re-stretch it, you know. There we go.
So that's, yeah, like you said, it's more red and white.
Yeah.
It's Valentine's Day.
Yeah. So that's probably
Well,
like
there's a
more
lot
of
of
a
sulfur
nat-
because everywhere where it's white means you've got basically strong signal on both channels.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
And
Let me-
maybe
let me
some of
ask you-
those grayer areas have a little bit of cyan in them. Because that would be basically be low hydrogen regions, would be sort of a teal, a cyan.
There's a little bit here, but it's pretty faint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hydrogen usually is the dominant emission in these things.
Yeah, that I think that's probably what we're battling, right? Because you have you have strong H, strong sulfur, and then you have a really weak oxygen.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're going to get you're definitely going to have a misbalance.
Right. And if you could make this natural, it would be 2 different shades of red.
Yeah, right.
Because the sulfur is red as well.
Yeah. And that's why, again, that's why, I brought the pixel math. That's why the pixel math is good, because you can fluff that a little bit. So you can say, instead of just doing SHO, sulfur, hydrogen, oxygen, you can say 70% of the sulfur, and then you could do 70% of hydrogen, and then you could bump up, you could do some things where you can get a more natural SHO rather than just saying all sulfur, all hydrogen, all oxygen.
Yeah, well, the other thing you can do in pixel math is you can say where the hydrogen is low, you can then say, where the sulfur is high, sort of tamp down the hydrogen so that it doesn't overwhelm these other signals. So you can actually sort of mathematically say when the sulfur is high, go ahead, don't use as much hydrogen.
Yeah.
Rather than mixing it at the same ratio throughout the whole image.
And there's a lot, you can go online. There's a lot, you search PixInsight, pixel math calculations that there's, God, there's website after website, people, coming up with all different types of crazy scripts and everything. But
yeah,
but either way, at this point, like this is pretty natural. You could probably turn this into a pretty natural looking image. Obviously it's going to be narrowbandy, but.
So we don't have time tonight, but I think I've mentioned it before. What I would do with this, I like this palette, but if I were going to play around with it some more, I would do my process that I do in Photoshop. And what I do there is I take the 3 channels, the 3 mono, and I take them into Photoshop and I colorize them to the natural color. So you can go online and you can find what's the hue, saturation, and whatever of sulfur 2, and what's the natural HA frequency and wavelength, and what's the O3. And you can actually colorize the 3 images, the 3 mono images, and then you can go and use blending modes in Photoshop. And so it's actually, you're actually using pretty close to the natural colors and using different blending modes. You can come up with some pretty cool looking things. So in this case, it would be 2 different shades of red that you can overlay and blend and play around with, and you can do some pretty cool stuff.
So Bob, are you saying or thinking that that approach would give you something closer to what you'd see out the window of a spaceship if you're hovering over the object?
Well, to the
Because the
extent
narrowband is removing frequencies that are supposedly not native to the star, or is that
Well-
not a correct statement?
well, here's the way I would answer that. If we are looking at the spaceship through a tri-band filter on with your eyes is a one-shot color camera.
Yeah.
And if you were looking at it through a tri-band filter, that's what I'm attempting to do in Photoshop.
But so the narrowband filters remove not only light pollution, man-made light, but some of the natural light from the objects. It
Right.
wouldn't look the same. Okay.
Right.
That makes sense.
Bob, if you would it be easy to apply that photometric color combination type thing to this? I mean, can you do that when you have like the these different monochrome filters? I mean, does it work on that when you actually kind of put together the different percentages of the channels that you wanted? Does that photometric thing still work?
No.
No? Okay.
What does it do? Does it only correct the color for the stars, or does it actually do a number on the nebula?
I thought
I'm
it
not
did
sure that-
everything.
I'm not sure the answer, but I think it's everything.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I it was an assumption. I don't really know.
So here it is. Let's see. I'll just leave all of the, I won't change any parameters, and we'll see if it'll solve it. It may not, because it may not have it may not know where it's at. They also have the brand new one, the spectrophotometric color calibration. That one you have to download like the whole Gaia spacecraft library, and it's even better color correction. Oh, look at those graphs.
Oh, so that's not good.
Yeah, it's not great.
But it works. I mean,
Oh, yeah, it'll work.
I've tried it at home and it won't. I can't get it to work.
Yeah, so if you look at these stars and it's not, I don't think it's accurate.
Okay.
I mean, that's probably, the nebula is probably about that color, but I don't think it's supposed to work well on the stars.
Okay.
Which is why I shoot the red, the green, and the blue
Okay.
and mix those, and then that I color correct, and then I mix those stars back in with the
Could you briefly show how you added the stars back in? Like you had your starless image
Yeah,
that
so
you were stretching and things. Like how would you? And you could go with the green image; it wouldn't matter. It's just like, how do you add the stars back to that?
Harry, the way I do it is with pixel math.
Okay, I've heard of that. It's kind of like business math, right?
Where is my, there it is.
So,
Okay, so there's the star list.
okay,
The stars down there.
okay.
So you just go to Pixel Math
Oh,
and expression editor, and I had something in here from earlier. Now, sometimes they just do some people just add the two images together.
yeah.
So in that case, it would be, oh shoot,
Yeah. How do you?
I got to move this so I can see what it's called. Expression editor. So
Image
get rid of that.
18.
So it's image 18 plus image 18 stars. And okay, and then want to create a new image. Okay, so that's set okay. And then I just go,
Usually do color space too, the same as, well, it depends on what I'm starting with, I guess.
yeah. Now now they're back.
Oh,
Now they're back.
yeah.
But I've been told, and I haven't checked it, I haven't really played with it, is that that's not the best way to do it, but the best way to do it
No.
is a different equation. Don't ask me why, but supposedly this is better.
It's got minus.
Not a minus, it's a
Not
tilde.
minus.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
So it's interesting. I've never done this comparison, but I've been told that does a better. I don't know
See
why.
much of a difference.
I don't see much difference either. But anyway, so that's,
I've just been adding them myself. I've just been adding them. I haven't done more.
yeah. I used to do it that way too. But then again, you watch YouTube and you say, this guy knows how to do it, so I'll do it his way. And who knows whether he knows, but
Yeah.
Now you can stretch these stars if you wanted to stretch them just a little bit. You can do that, right? And then you would add it back
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you have
if you
to
wanted
because
to.
you have to because they start out linear.
Okay.
Put them back
Got it.
in. You want them to be
Okay.
Yeah, Harry, I do the histogram stretch differently on the nebula than I do in the stars, just because
Okay.
I don't want all those stars in there just completely obscuring the nebula. So
Okay.
that's one of the advantages of doing the star exterminator, is it gives you more freedom to really bring out the detail in a dim nebula and keep the stars under control without doing like morphological transforms and star masks and all that.
Very cool.
and we didn't do any masking along
Oh,
here.
did you do the blur thing?
Yeah.
Oh, that was done. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, I'm just coming back. That looks a lot better. What did you do on that one?
Nothing.
She added the stars and then took them out again. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's definitely not as much green. There's more
Oh,
other
well,
colors.
I
purple?
thought maybe you left while I was still doing the SCNR.
Okay, this is the SHO.
No. Yeah, this is the original one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that looks better.
Yeah. No, I was Harry wanted to know how to add stars back in, so I was showing how to do that. Have you seen this? Have you Jim, have you seen this equation?
So image, yep. So that is the but that's only if you use the star exterminator with that one setting turned on.
Which one?
So open up star exterminator. Yeah, so this will only work if you use Star Exterminator, you have unscreened stars turned on. If not, it won't do any, it won't affect anything.
And what does it mean? What does it do?
So right there, it shows you right there, and it shows you the equation down below.
Oh,
That's good.
oh, wow. It just tells you exactly, use this equation to combine it.
Yeah, and Adam Block is a big proponent of this.
But it says unscreening is not recommended for linear unstretched images.
Right. For unstretched, it says that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the second or third paragraph. Unscreening is not recommended for linear unstretched images.
Yes. So I always run, when I, like I mentioned earlier, when I do my Star Exterminator, I always histogram about 20% just to bring it up.
Yeah.
I never use the Star Exterminator on a completely linear image. I don't think it works as well.
But that's if you've checked this unscreened stars box.
Yeah. So what that will do is, so if you stretch the image a little bit, then you run Star Exterminator with unscreened stars turned on, then you can run that pixel math formula that Bob was showing to put it back, and the stars will have better colors.
But why would you use the unscreening to begin with? What's the bet? I don't check that box. So what does it do?
It's actually to give you more natural star colors.
Oh, okay. So I suppose then when you're combining it, you're not polluting the star color with the nebula that you're mixing it with.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So I suppose it's kind of like a mask then, when it.
So what? Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. Adam Block does a video and he talks a little bit more about it. But when it does the Star Exterminator, again, it can't be a linear image. It's got to be somewhat stretched. You run Star Exterminator with that unscreened stars turned on. It's going to leave you with two images, one with stars and one without stars. You do your processing of all your images, and then when you're ready to put them all back together, you run that pixel math formula that's shown below there, and then it will combine the data back together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this, like the fourth paragraph says, with it's unchecked, it's basically just X minus Y.
Right.
Which is, so to go backwards with the X minus Y, you just have to, simply do an add.
Yeah.
Image plus image. Whereas if you do the
okay.
unscreen, then it does it different way. Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, so the way I'm doing it is correct if you don't check the
right. Yeah. Yeah. You're definitely doing it right, but there's two rights.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. All right. I think
one quick question.
Yeah.
What was the name of the denoising module or function that you used?
Noise Exterminator.
Okay, before, and you just got that recently, right?
A couple months ago.
Star Exterminator.
Okay. What did you
then
use
the noise,
for that?
and then the blur. So they first came out with Star Exterminator, and then they came out with noise, and then blur is brand new.
Right.
And it's
So
all from the same
before you
website.
got those, what did you use?
TV
I use whatever,
noise or whatever.
The StarNet for Star instead of Star Exterminator, TGV denoise for denoise.
Okay.
I guess
okay.
deconvolution would be.
So
what you
here's
would
the,
use
if you go
for-
under noise reduction here, these are the various different ways of doing noise
Yeah,
reduction.
okay. So which is the best one on those?
It depends.
I always use MLT, multi-scale linear transform.
Okay.
Yeah, the nice thing about that, there's also a lot of videos on that as well, Harry. But
Right.
the nice thing, it creates a mask built into that tool.
Okay.
So if you go to linear mask,
Okay.
you can actually go in here, create a mask, and then apply the noise reduction. So if you check on linear mask and then hit preview mask, and then hit the preview button.
Okay.
So it's going to show you now. This is already a stretched image, right? Is it stretched?
No, but it's no stars.
No.
Okay. Yeah, bump up that amplification. Oh, it's so we're already stretched. So we're way over. So go down to like 1. We're way overdone. 1, I go to 2. There you go.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so maybe, yeah, you'll see it. Just hit enter there and see if it clicks up. I don't think it's changing. There you go. Yeah, so essentially what it will do is it will create a mask like this, and then you can uncheck preview mask. And when you uncheck the preview mask, then you can now go up to the noise reduction. You want to check off noise reduction, and you're going to do it for your each layer. So again, you go watch a million videos on this, but I always do threshold 4 at 0.8. Then I do 3 at 0.6. I just slowly, gradually drop it down.
Okay.
So I do something like that. So I do 4. The first channel should be 4 and then 0.8. But again, this is, you would just apply it to the different channels. Well, you got to really watch a video on this. There's a whole bunch of, you look up multi-scale linear transform.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of videos on this, and this tool is really, really good. It does essentially what I mean, you get similar results as the easy noise or whatever, the noise exterminator, but it just takes a lot more time.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there's somewhere down here, there's a new button on this one, and it just says, go to blur exterminator.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
I mean,
no, I'm
really,
sorry, noise exterminator, not blur.
Noise exterminator.
So this takes a long time for the process, you mean?
It's just, you got to learn it. I mean, it's something you got to
okay.
play with it and try it a million times.
Got
Unfortunately, or fortunately, now all this new stuff, you know, you don't have to do this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. This is one of those ones, as I said earlier, where PixInsight gives you all sorts of rope, and you can hang yourself with this one.
Okay. Yeah.
And so Jim and I exchanged texts the other day, and I think like half of PixInsight now is almost becoming obsolete.
Yeah. I mean, anyway, not, you know, say anyone can do it, but it's in reality, you can go in here and just run a couple scripts, and I mean, weighted batch pre-processing, then run the photometric calibration on one-shot color cameras, and then just do a couple of these tools, and you got a pretty darn good looking image.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Quiv, the lazy geek, was raving about this easy processing suite that PixInsight has now, which is supposed to be easy, but I'm having some trouble getting it to work. It's not as easy as he called it.
I used to use that suite. That's that's put together by a guy named Dark Anon or something like that.
Okay.
I used to use some of it. Some of it I liked. Some of it I absolutely didn't like.
Okay.
And now that these other exterminators are out, I'm not sure Queeve uses that anymore.
Okay. He probably doesn't.
I mean, it's hard to keep up. I mean, I feel sorry for people. I feel sorry for people like Adam Block and and all these guys that are trying to make money off of teaching PixInsight. But every time they make a video, a month later, it's obsolete because now there's a new tool that they can get rid of 3 or 4 steps in their process.
That's a good point. Yeah, this does seem to change fast. The stars and everything that you're shooting change very, very slowly, but all the other stuff that's involved, it's like changing and all the time,
Bob, you going to finish this image now? I think you made some good progress here.
No, it's getting pretty late. Let's just say I wouldn't finish it in green. I'll tell you that. I would finish it with my other one. But no, I think this was fun. I think I learned something.
It was good. It's helpful for me.
Everybody.
So, Bob, can I just show my screen and just show you a couple? It's not really image processing, but some tips about using PixInsight that might be of interest.
Go for it.
Let's see. Here we are. So this is kind of what my screen looks like. I've sort of saved a project just with my tools, my icons over here. And so I find there's 2 ways you can sort of shrink these process windows. The one that if you use, no, this is a bad example. Let me open this one. Yeah, if you use this one, it just sort of collapses it down like what you're doing. But what I do is when I find the settings that I like, I just drag the triangle to the screen here. And then I right click and name it something so I know what it is. And then I just put them in sort of my standard order, and they're all handy right here. And one of the nice things about that is if I'm just using, let's say on an image, I'll just pick any image here. If I just want to apply the noise exterminator, I just drag it over and release it. So if I'm just going with my default settings, it's just a kind of a shortcut.
Now, how do you get them to stay there? Like session after session?
You can
Well, that's
right
the
click,
thing. I
right?
save it as a project without
Right.
any image. And
Well, you
then
can
I
save it. You can save it as a project, or right click on the desktop. Go to process icons. You can save
yeah.
process icons.
Yeah.
Really?
that's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never done it. I reinvent the wheel every single time. That will save me time.
I find this was really useful. And it also just, I have kind of a workflow here now. This is sort of the standard way I'm doing things right now. And it saves all the settings that you want. It doesn't go back to the
Yeah. Yeah, I do that. I do that in most of my projects. I do some it's similar anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can save different sets of, like, you can save a set for RGB and a set for, narrowband, and so yeah, that's a big time saver. And another thing I started doing recently also is whenever I'm opening a file, I use the File Explorer instead of going to the Windows or to the Mac Explorer. So on the left there at the bottom, see it says File Explorer. Click on that, and it's just like looking for a file on your system.
Ah, okay. That's pretty cool.
So
I've
you don't
never
have to
even-
go. You don't have to go out of PixInsight, and it does what what your browser usually does. When you go to a certain folder, it comes back to that folder next time you open it up. That kind of stuff.
That's cool.
And
I never knew that either.
it also has a go back into the File Explorer thing. It has. I think you can set it up so that it has recent.
Oh,
There's a section you can have for recent files, so files that you've opened up recently. There's a way to set that up. I don't remember how to do it, but
Oh,
yeah.
that'd be cool. That'd be useful.
yeah. There's
One
there's so
thing that I
much.
learned from the Masters of PixInsight, because it always drove me crazy. I'd be working on an image and I'd get the cursor a little bit too far to the left, and then the
Yeah.
console would open up.
Yeah,
And you can go into the
Yeah. you can move them. You can move them
Settings.
over to the right or on the bottom. Yeah.
forget which window those settings is in, but yeah, you can turn that off. So in order to open these, you have to click on them.
Yep.
Rather than just hovering over them.
I think you can also move them to the right hand
Yes.
side.
Yeah, I think I forget where you do that, but you're right. You can move, you can tell where they go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The other thing that I figured out is I was having trouble with plate solving when I go into the script image analysis image solver, which you need to do if you're going to be doing mosaics. And I like to do it because then if I want to annotate the image, it knows
Yep.
where it is. And,
Yep.
and also then I kind of have a sort of a record of exactly where I was pointing, what the RA and the deck was associated with the stack or with the final image. But what I found is sometimes it was hard to get it to converge, to solve. So what I always do is I just go ahead and open up one of the light frames, which still has all of the metadata from taking the picture, including RA, declination, the focal length, everything, the pixel size. And I just run that. And then I go back and rerun the script, this time on the image I want to plate solve. And all I have to do is put in the date. It carries over all the information from the plate solve of the individual light frame. And so it's a kind of a more bulletproof way of getting it to solve the plate solve every time. So those are my tips.
Yep. No, I mean, there's a lot, I'm sure that there's stuff that none of us know, right? So at least yet anyway.
Now that was helpful. I learned a few things myself.
All right. Well, So I think it was a good night. I
That's
appreciate you
good. Thank you
guys.
very much.
And let's see, we lost David along the way. Michelle's gone. So let's see, we're still recording, so we didn't get the very beginning, but I will put a message out on the IO thing where I'll find a place to put the recording, and in case anybody wants to go back to it. And we'll see everybody, probably some of you next week, and then next month, and maybe
Not out at the
maybe-
SOS field.
yeah, maybe out at SOS. So,
Cool. Thanks, guys.
yep.
Happy New
Thanks,
Year,
guys.
everybody.
Have a good night.
You too.
Good
Bye bye.
night. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.